Alrighty, everyone. Thank you guys for joining in. I hope you guys are coming in quickly. Um, and I pray that this finds you well and that we can get down to the nitty gritty. Um, Please do me a favor. Go ahead and make sure that you are sharing, that you're liking, that you're doing all of those things that are necessary in order for us to get this message across to the world. We are getting ready to share with you all the press conference that took place on today, this evening, in regards to the Ronald Green case. We expected today to have on, of course, the Green family, but they were held up in a meeting with their legal team. And so, of course, as always, the representation is extremely important to the work that they do, that we do here. And so, we want to make sure that we are completely um, uh, transparent about what we are trying to do. And so we're going to go ahead and put a copy of this press release, of this press conference. I'm going to show you all the press conference, and hopefully with some insight here, you guys can see what happened. It's going to be about an hour's long press conference. And so my hope again is that you guys can have a better understanding of what it is that we believe the governor should do. People have already reached out to me saying, why should the governor resign so we can have a Republican in office? Let me make something abundantly clear. We already have a Republican in office. His name is John Bel Edwards. He is someone who appears to be a progressive thinker, a progressive person, but make no mistake, he is not such. And I will let our statements speak for themselves. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to share. Make sure to continue to like and comment throughout this broadcast. And again, we are grateful for the community for continuing to stand with these families that are going through what they're going through.
On it.
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay. So,
No, I just I'm reaching out to her now. We still have 5 minutes still, so that may be why she haven't hopped on yet.
Right. Yes, the initial call time that Ms. Mona on this press conference, this virtual press conference is being called on the behalf of the Green family. We also have other family members that we will identify on this call that have been victims of, who have lost their loved ones as victims of police murder by law enforcement within the state of Louisiana. This particular press conference has been convened in response to Governor Edwards' press conference that was held just a couple of days ago in his response to the fact that his text exchange between the Louisiana State Trooper office was made public, that he was aware of the incidences surrounding the vicious murder of Ronald Green in 2019. We also know that the circumstances in which the murder was reported was falsified. We also, meaning falsified, and we consider and we know that the falsifying of police reports, the falsifying of incident reports that are related to what happened to Ronald Green is a criminal matter in which everyone involved, everyone that was aware of, everyone that was complicit in the covering up of what actually happened to Ronald Green can and should and will be held accountable. We are going to be consistent. The groups that you have on here now have been part of the groups that have been out fighting for justice for Ronald Green for a couple of years now. There have been several demonstrations over the course of the last couple of years outside of the Louisiana State Capitol, the Louisiana Attorney General's office, the governor's mansion, the headquarters of the Louisiana State Police. So this matter is very well known. The grievances of the family are very well known in public. So we're going to go ahead and try to go ahead and get this going. Do we have the family members on? That's most important.
I've spoken to Ms. Mona. She said they're going to hop on as soon as they can. They have a phone call with legal that's running overtime. So I think we can go ahead and get started, Sister Crystal.
Okay, so is it Ms. Mona as well as Danielle that's running overtime?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so and the legal team is aware at the time of which we're getting started, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let's not have any family members that are on of other cases to go ahead and identify themselves, and so that we can properly get their name and the spelling of their name as well as their family members. We would then officially go ahead and get the name and organizational representation, having you spell out your name and organization and contact information. And then by then, hopefully, Ms. Mona will be on. The next order, we would start off with the video to remind everybody about what this call is really in reference to. And then, and that is at the request of Ms. Mona. And of course, Ms. Mona is the mother of Ronald Green. So let's go ahead and start with the family members that are on. I'm going to briefly mute and take my camera back right quick to grab some water, but I am here listening.
Ms. Casa, you want to go ahead and for the record, introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and the spelling of your first and last name?
My name is Casa Bean. My first name is spelled C-A-S-A. My last name is spelled B-E-A-N. I am the mother of Dontrona Robinson. Dontrona was murdered May 2nd, 2013.
All righty. Are there any other families of anyone who has succumbed to police brutality or police death on this call? All righty. With that being said, my name is Devontre Norman. I'm the president and director of the Village 337. Of course, you can contact us, and our email is, let's see here. Sorry, we have a few of them, and I'm waiting for a response from the team. Let's see. Okay, the Village 33. This the Village Lafayette at gmail.com, and the phone number is 337-247-7386. and you can contact us that way with any questions or anything regarding this conference on today.
Is that all with the media?
This is Ken Miller with Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
It's Kevin McGill with the Associated Press.
All right. Anyone else with the media? Okay, we want to thank all of the media that is on. Be Our Proud, I believe that is a community organizer. Is that correct?
No, so we're a news station in Baton Rouge, WVLA, WGMB, NBC,
okay.
and Fox affiliate. Yes, ma'am.
Right, because we had a group that was out representing a few times that called themselves Be Our Proud at several demonstrations. So thanks for that clarification. Okay, Devin, any word from Miss Mona?
Not yet, Sister Crystal.
Okay, so what we need to do is go ahead as she requested and start with the video to remind everybody and officially for the record and as well as for the rebroadcast. Now, this clip that we are going to play is a clip that was found off of YouTube, so for fair use. So let's go ahead and get that clip played. Is it going to come? It's a 2-minute clip. For those who have not seen it, if we can get it full screen. Are we able to get this full screen?
Mr. Green was, to some degree, even though he had just finished leading police officers on a lengthy and high-speed chase, his inclination at that particular point was to acquiesce to what the officers wanted.
Let me see your hands. Put your hands behind your back, bitch. Give me your fucking hands. Put your hands behind your back. Taser. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back. You're about to get it again if you don't put your fucking hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. I'm sorry.
What's problematic for me is that Mr. Green is now left on the ground, on his stomach, handcuffed in a prone position. And officers are trained throughout the United States that once there's a struggle of this nature, the individual's handcuffed, that you need to push him off onto his side or get him in a sitting position so you can allow that breathing to be unimpeded by his own body weight.
This guy ain't got fucking AIDS.
And that didn't happen for at least, based on my calculation, 9 minutes, where Mr. Green was left alone. And then when he wasn't left alone and he tried to get over onto his side, another trooper pushed him down using his foot against the lower back and buttocks of Mr. Green. And I didn't understand that. There was absolutely no reason for that. Under no circumstances should Mr. Green have been drugged by his ankle shackles. That was malicious, sadistic, completely unnecessary. And the officer that did it's going to have to be held accountable.
Yes, we would like to thank the Associated Press. That's where this particular footage came from, as well as the legal expert, I believe it was Kevin Scott. Hopefully I'm not saying that incorrectly, that gave his legal expert opinion. So we would go ahead. I see you are checking your messages. Are you checking to hear, has Ms. Mona or anyone from the Green family arrived on here yet?
I don't believe so, and I haven't gotten the word back yet, Sister Crystal.
Okay. Who can make a comment? I'm sorry, reach out. Do you have to get off the call to reach back to her, Devin?
No, I've tried to, but I haven't gotten a response.
Okay, no problem. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and make our statements briefly. But again, this press conference, although we have community organizers on, we've had several calls since the statement came out. Actually, the news release came out regarding the fact that the governor may have been silent or really has been silent to the extent that is not satisfied by the community. We do have for the record some statements where he has made comments, and we believe that those comments that he did make in the past were we consider to be a conspiracy to cover up the murder. We do have several articles in which the governor said that he did not believe that there was any type of cover-up that took place. And we know that not to be the fact because, again, we want to remind everybody, although this video clearly shows Mr. Green being viciously attacked, the official report that initially came out was that Mr. Green died in a car wreck. We know, and we know that was not a fact. In fact, we have the images of the vehicle. Sorry about that. We have the images of the vehicle that came out even before the videos came out that showed that the damages on the vehicle were no more than a fender bender on the passenger side. So, and once we had the images of the autopsy, even without the video, we knew that what the Louisiana State Police were reporting was false. Not only false, it was a blatant lie. And we are not going to be satisfied with a 50, 40-year, 5-year, 10-year investigation that the Department of Justice is always telling us. We know that the U.S. attorney, the state attorney, can prosecute and press charges within minutes. So it has been years now, and we want accountability. So I guess I'm officially doing my statement now while we're waiting on Miss Mona or representation from the Green family to get on. Ronald Green was viciously murdered. He did not die, just die in custody, as Governor Edwards stated. He was murdered. Someone can have a heart attack and just die, or have a health condition and die. Not only was the officers involved violating his human rights, his civil rights, but also his inalienable rights. These are crimes against humanity. Governor stated that he was mishandled. He was not mishandled. He was tortured. That was cruel and unusual treatment, cruel and unusual punishment at the hands of the state. The Louisiana State Police are an agency of the government of the state of Louisiana. The highest executive office for the state of Louisiana is the governor. The governor was made aware the night of what happened. He was made aware that someone died after a violent exchange, and his only response was thanks. that is not only inhumane, it shows that he is not even concerned with public safety, which is a violation of his oath of office. To just say thanks when someone was, you were told when someone in police custody, hold on, what is this text? Hold on one second. When you told that when someone in police custody, okay, I'm not as sure what's going on here with my Zoom. When someone in police custody is murdered after a violent exchange, your only response is thanks. That is not acceptable, especially with the climate that has been going on in the country over police murders, police terrorism, police brutality, all the demonstrations that have been taking place across the country, most aggressively since 2008, in which they seem to have escalated once Obama became president, and have not stopped since. So to be that heartless is beyond that. And we also find it to be blatantly racist. To come on and do a press statement and all of a sudden try to sound like the man on the attorney on the Time to Kill and say he knew that this would not have happened if Mr. Green was white. That was the only factful thing we found Governor Edwards to have said during that press conference. To say that there was no misconduct or any cover-up by the Louisiana State Police is a blatant lie, and it is impeachable. It is very much impeachable. You went before the public on a national news broadcast, Governor Edwards, and lied. When you know, the family knows, the community knows, and the world knows that the initial reports that were came out by the Louisiana State Police Department is that Ronald Green died from a car wreck. Well, we know that was not the case. He was drugged, beaten, while in handcuffs, like a runaway slave. And you, Governor Edwards, are sitting in your plantation-style mansion as if you're some type of a modern-day slave holder. That is not the case. This is a new day. We hold also the the Louisiana attorney, state's attorney, accountable for not pressing charges. There will be no passing of the buck. And we also hold the legislature accountable, as there has been no executive response, legislature response, or judicial response to truly address what happened with Mr. Green and to hold those who are responsible for his murder and the cover-up of his murder and the conspiracy to cover up his murder accountable with criminal charges to the fullest extent of the law. In fact, the police should be held to a higher extent of the law than everyday citizens because they are trained killers. No different than a professional boxer who fights a regular everyday citizen is held to a higher degree as they are trained professionals. It is past the time for legislature to have been passed that truly holds these police accountable. They need to be sanctioned. Everyone involved needs to be sanctioned. Their pensions, their positions should be taken from them. And it's past the time for that to have happened. Again, officially, what happened to Mr. Green was a violation of human rights. And these cases should go and be presented before the International Criminal Court. These are violations of human rights, not only by the police department, but also by the governor, by the government, because you're failing to protect your people, failing to protect the people. We should let it be known that also this broadcast is being forwarded and is being monitored. I just received a message by representatives of the African Union. How can the United States go to war after war after claiming so-called human rights violations by so-called leaders? And this is taking place on a daily basis, unfortunately, human rights violations. And we want to be clear. What is taking place is ethnic cleansing and genocide by the hands of the state to Black people and people of African descent who are in fact indigenous people of this land. We find that the statements, the 54-minute press conference held by Governor Edwards, those statements should be brought into a court of law for this conspiracy to cover up a murder, the murder of Ronald Green. And I yield to Brother Devon with the Village 337.
Godspeed to you, Sister Crystal Muhammad, and thank you for your work in this community, not only this community, across the country, on a national level, and I would even go even further to say an international level. We thank you for not only the amount of education that you've given us, but for protecting the people as well as feeding the people and doing everything that you guys with the New Black Panther Party have done throughout the time that I've known you and long before that. I want to say, of course, thanks to each and every one of you who are joined in with us. My name is Devon Trey Norman. I am the president and director of the Village 337, an organization here in Lafayette, Louisiana, that was founded because we were tired of the status quo. Trayford Pellerin was murdered here in August of 2020. And there were some people who wanted us to be quiet, and they didn't like the way that we were moving in response to the murder of Trayford Pellerin. And we decided that we needed an organization, we needed a vehicle and a unit that would not mind getting in some good trouble, and then understood that we may have to put our own lives on the line for this work. And as such, we have done so. And so in my response to the governor and the press conference that he had is that, we're calling him out on his lies. We're calling him out on his fluff to the community. We realized that in watching, my opinion is that the governor is a governor who is now backed into a corner. When we initially came out and people asked the governor about us laying on his entrance on the concrete with our faces to the ground and knocking on his door essentially and marching up and down the street from the Capitol to the governor's mansion, he said he was losing no sleep. Well, I see a governor now that's losing sleep, but it has to do to me more with his personal political gain than it does to do with his heart, than it does to do with his servitude to the people. This governor understands now that he does not have the chances that he once did at running for a higher office than he currently has. And I believe that we are looking at a governor that is backed into a corner. When I heard the governor acknowledge or say to the people that he never once admitted or he never once said that Ronald Green died in a car accident, it just confirmed to me that he knew exactly what happened to Ronald Green at the time that it happened. Because if it were me and I was running a state in the climate in which Ronald Green died in, the time frame in which he was murdered in, it would have been incumbent upon me, especially as someone who considers myself to be more progressive than my counterparts, to speak on the matter, especially after activists and family members and community members and many people asked him to speak on it. I was told when we initially were pressuring the governor to speak that he had a lot on his plate and that it was just too much for him. But we realize now that dealing with the COVID battle was more politically expedient for this governor than dealing with a matter of racism, as Sister Crystal would call it, of genocide that was happening in our state. This is an issue that even as Ron's mother has spoken to us, that goes beyond him as an individual. Because we know here in Lafayette all too well what it feels like to have the state police investigating a murder of someone that succumbed to the same type of abuse that Ronald Green did. The same police, the same system that covered up his murder and that covered up what happened to him and that lied about it is the same system that investigated the murder of Trayford Pellerin. It's also the same system that is currently investigating the murder of Tyron Coates that just happened a week ago here in Lafayette, Louisiana. And of course, you have, of course, Don Turner Robinson, who his mother is on the line with us now. You have the list goes on, Tommy McLaughlin III out there in Shreveport. And these are murders that are being investigated by the same system that we're discussing here today, that our governor said he never one time said that that Ronald Green died in a car accident. So if he acknowledged that he knew that he never died in a car accident, then to me, he acknowledges then that he was aware of the cover-up at the very least that was taking place from the beginning. Because it was public information and knowledge that Ronald Green had, quote unquote, died in a car accident, why then did the governor not only not speak against what was happening in public, but why did he not take any action behind closed doors? I mean, if anybody that is here, all of you investigators and reporters, I'm sure you would have known if something like this had happened, even without public knowledge of it. So if there is something, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that the governor even took any action behind closed doors. If he's saying that he didn't want to take away from because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove his excuses before he can even get to them. If he's saying he didn't say anything at the time because he wanted to focus on COVID and it was running rampant and killing more people in our community and this, that, and the other, well, what did you do with the information that you had at the time that you had it? Because as Sister Crystal Muhammad said in the text message, you had a list of information that showed you that there was a violent exchange that happened between police officers and a citizen within your state. And you said at the end of that message, thank you. I agree when she says that it is racist. And I believe that we can no longer at this point continue to operate in a manner and believe that because someone has a D behind their name, that they have the best interest of the people at heart and that they are concerned about the well-being of the community. I think that the only thing that matters to people like Governor Edwards is what is politically expedient to them at that time. And so now the governor has been forced to come out and speak about this. And so he gave about an hour-long press conference, and he spoke, and this was the most flustered I'd ever seen our governor. Why was he not that flustered when Ronald Green was murdered? Why has he not been that flustered as we have continued to report on all of these murders that are taking place by the police across the state of Louisiana? That's being investigated by the very department that he is in control of. Why is it then that the governor would not speak to and has yet to speak to organizations that have seriously put their lives on the line, people that have fought as hard as we can to make sure that this is heard, and we've requested meetings with him. So people may ask, well, what has the Village 337 done? And I'm almost done. I'm a preacher, so I can talk long, and I'm trying to be timely. The Village 337, we have been with Miss Mona Hardin and Miss Casabine and their families. We've been to Washington, D.C. We've met with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Am I saying her name right? Congressman Troy Carter and Congressman Al Green. We met with them, and there were conversations that were had there. We after that meeting wrote a letter to the Department of Justice asking for a sweeping investigation, not only in the Louisiana State Police Department, but into the state government and in our local government here in Louisiana and local police here in Louisiana. We've made these requests with the reality of the situation and the reality in our minds, knowing that it may not come with much action, but we wanted to cover our tracks and make sure that we had done what was necessary to reach out to who was necessary, because we understood that this time would come, that at some point exposure would begin to happen. And it is my hope that through this, that you all in the media and those of us that are activists and advocates will continue to do this work, but we will continue to investigate. We will continue to press. And if we have to, we will put our resources together to begin litigation, to get the information that we need to. I again thank you all for your time. I honor Ms. Casabine for being here, who is the mother of Dontrona Robinson. Thank you for sharing with us. And at this time, I'll turn it back into the hands of Sister Crystal Muhammad.
Yes, I believe it is almost an hour from the time that we were set to do this press conference, which was at 4:30, but we did have the sign on time at 4:15. Have you not heard yet from the family members? I don't know how long this legal meeting was taking place. We do know that the legal meeting, of course, would be important. However, this press conference was scheduled, so we're going to go ahead and move. We had to move forward. So what we will do, are there any other community organizations or representatives that are on that want to make a statement officially right now before we go to questions from the media?
Sister Crystal, can I say one more thing? I apologize.
No problem.
But I'd like to also acknowledge that we understand that there are organizations and there are entities that may look like us, that may have issue with us addressing this governor because he is a Democrat in this way. But make no mistake, and I speak for the Village 337, that we will not stop, we won't be hindered, and we will not be distracted. We are like a tree planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We will do whatever is necessary to expose what is happening. And I guarantee you that those that are in the pockets and whoever the governor has his pockets in, whoever's hands the governor has his pockets in, whoever the governor's pockets had, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I guarantee you,
he laced it.
Exactly. Whoever's pockets the governor is lacing. I'm gonna talk like we in the streets, amen. Whoever's pockets he is lacing, or whoever they are coordinating with, it'll all come to light. And at the end of the day, we have to begin to set a standard as advocates, as revolutionaries, as activists, and even the media. It's time for us to hold them to account. If they claim to be people advocating for and fighting for families, then we have to make sure that there are no discrepancies between them and this corrupt government.
That's right. I want to right quickly add to that. We're going to be very, very briefly, but just to get to the point, social media has been a great equalizer, and it is also a great vehicle. So we are able, and we will be able to take this video and share it across the planet. And to your point about political parties, when the Democratic Party or the Republican Party fails to address the murders, the police terrorism, the police brutality, the ethnic cleansing and genocide that is taking place. It goes across party lines. Again, we will not continue to be exploited by the Democratic Party that takes the black vote for granted. President Biden came into office with all kind of promises of upholding and change in regards to police brutality of black people, African Americans here in America. There's been no drastic or substantial policy change by the Democratic Party nor the Republican Party on the state level of Louisiana nor on the national level. All we've gotten was a bunch of empty promises. We do know that prior to the Civil Rights Movement, that the Democratic Party was also known as the Dixiecratic Party, the old Dixie Party. So we are not going to do blind allegiance to anyone. We also have heard from police officers who said that they have been speaking out about the police brutality and the work of their colleagues, and they have been punished and penalized, taken off duty, fired, when those who do the violations, the murders, the brutality, remain either on paid administrative leave or put on desk duty. And so the climate is being made to where those police officers, or has been made, who do speak out, they know that they're going to be penalized. So legislative change has to take place. Democrats and Republicans and independents, or other parties, I should say, that are involved politically. No excuses. Black Caucus, the entire Louisiana State of Representatives, Senate, Congress people across the nation have failed the people on both sides of the aisle. That is a shame that you guys had to go to D.C. and meet with two representatives out of Houston. And where is Troy Carter from? Quite honestly, I don't know where Troy Carter's from. Where is he from?
Well, he's a new representative from Louisiana.
Okay, so one representative out of Texas and two representatives out of Houston.
New Orleans. He's out of New Orleans. Troy Carter.
Okay, great. Okay, we appreciate that. Well, here is the thing. I'm glad you mentioned Sheila Jackson Lee. And then from here, we're going to yield it to have Ms. Costa make a statement, and then we'll open to questions. And I'm not sure what's going on with the Green family, as they should be on.
Sister Crystal, we had Will James out of Shreveport. Dr. Will James is going to speak as well after you finish.
Okay, wonderful. But my point is these are human rights violations. We do have representatives of the African Union that are monitoring. We're not going to just be satisfied with any domestic cover-up to continue as to how our human rights are being violated by the state and the United States government, the governments of the states of Louisiana, the individual states of the United States, in particular, we're talking about Louisiana, are failing to protect the people, are discriminating. Ethnic cleansing and genocide is clearly taking place. Black people are the ones being targeted and murdered. There is no prosecution of those who murder and terrorize us and brutalize us. And in the case of Ronald Green, it was an egregious cover-up. Everyone in that department, the Louisiana State Police, that was aware of what happened, directly to him, and the conspiracy to cover up needs to be held accountable. We know billions of dollars are being spent because the midterm elections are coming up. And people are, I'm talking about individuals are playing political games. Organizations who have been forward, upfront with us when we were there from the beginning. Because their political motivations are not here. Well, that's fine. Go ahead, Brother Will. Please, all right, thank you. Out of Shreveport.
Thank you, sister. I really do appreciate everything that you've stated here, as well as Brother Devon. My name is Will James, WILLJAMES. I'm a sociologist and a community activist based out of Shreveport, Louisiana. For those that are wondering why someone at the top of the boot is interested in what's happening at the bottom of the boot, the issues that have actually been on full display here with the Green case, it's a statewide epidemic. It's something that has been experienced all over the state. So when you look at, as Brother Devon stated earlier, it's not just, Ronald Green, it's also the Anthony Childs and the Casey Simpsons and the Wavy Austins and Tommy McLaughlin Jr. These are some cases that a lot of people don't know about that are happening, but the Green case is something that resonated deeply with myself and several other activists over the past year and a half as more information has come out. And I wanted to state, as far as my concern, I've actually been out of the spotlight due to personal health issues, but I'm finally getting back on track here. I got the clean bill of health earlier today, so woohoo. But you'll start to see more of us come out, as far as myself, Brika Peoples, Amari Hossein, Caitlin Douglas, she was a major instrument, and Tommy McLaughlin III. You're going to see us come out to address the issue. Here recently, we had the police chief that was replaced here, who idly stood by and said nothing about the cases. And actually, you heard a lot of victim blaming that was happening here, as opposed to taking responsibility for his people that represented the shield. And it's not just the police chief. It's not just the mayor. I won't even say it's just the governor. It's the system overall that's corrupt and sick. And I stated it before earlier last year, and I'll state it again today. The system itself has to change. So when we change the overall system and we elect those people who do have our best interests that are out there, that was a great point that you made earlier, sister, when you said, I'm tired of seeing people come out when it's mid-elections or it's re-election time. Where were you when all hell was breaking loose several months ago or several years ago, and so on? So full accountability is to be had on all parts of the chain of command. So it doesn't matter if you're the governor of the state or if you're an alderman or on the police jury or a councilman. Everybody needs to be held accountable.
That's right. Thank you, Brother Will James. Okay, Ms. Casa.
If I could jump in real quick before Ms. Casa. This is Angela Evelyn. I'm the Village 337 Vice President. I do want to add, one of those officers is well known, I'm sure, by most of the media, is Jeremiah Ardoin. As the whistleblower for Dontrona Robinson's murder case, that's not really being acknowledged a whole lot by the media, what's happening with that there. But he made a very good point, him and also former Chief Glover, the former Lafayette police chief. You can't commit a crime to enforce the law. And when we went to Congress back in November, we let the congressional members know, basically, Louisiana law enforcement, they're run like an organized crime unit. They're conducting gang activity. It's just the fact. It's been proven time and time again. Also, I believe it was Jeremiah Ardoin. I think Ms. Costa can elaborate a little bit more on that, who was the officer that connected that the officers that murdered Dontrona Robinson in Baton Rouge were trained by the same officers that murdered Ronald Green up in Monroe. So there's a connection there of how they're trained. It's a systematic thing that's passed down from generation to generation through each department. It has to be stopped. We have to address it. It's internal, and we have to do something.
That's right, Sister Angie. Thank you so much. Ms. Casa? We hear from Ms. Casa. Any word from the Greens? I guess we receive a message on that. It should have been on by now. Okay. Ms. Casa?
Yes, I'm on.
You have the floor, Queen.
I would like to say this here. Me and Miss Mona case are so similar together. Oh, our kid is, it's a malicious killing. It's a senseless killing. Oh, our kids are human. Oh, it shouldn't have took place. They should have been trained better. In law enforcement, I know they have training all the time, but to just beat someone like that, it's no excuse for it. It's no excuse for covered up. My son's murder was covered up for 8 years. And I dealt with it time and time. I can't begin to tell you how many times I swept my porch and watched that window. Watch the noise, hear the noise. The many sleepless nights. Until I got one young man to come and tell me something that I knew for 8 years. Jeremiah, he wasn't just a whistleblower. He was tired of a police officer abusing our black men. It should have been spoke up. I lived in Sherwood Forest back in the 90s. I saw it. I lived it. I watched it. But never in 1,000 years I would have thought my son would be a victim of somebody beating him. And when I saw my son's pictures, he was beat from his head to his toes. Something that I didn't even know about. I knew his face was bloody. I saw that poem. But what happened in that house, I didn't know. I had bits and pieces. I'm praying that we both get justice, and we will. Nobody knows what we feel. Nobody knows the sleepless nights. Nobody knows the tears. When I got the truth and I saw my son picture a few months ago for the first time, people said, I can't believe. I couldn't believe. I just couldn't even believe it. Now, I'm ready. I'm ready to lace my boots up. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for anything. And I thank the Village 337 for everything they have done for me. The talks, everything. Because you just don't know what it does if I didn't talk. And I want to thank you too, Sister Crystal, for allowing me to come on. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Casa. Sister Crystal, you're still muted.
Thank you too, Ms. Casa. So let's go ahead and get to questions and answers. I'm not sure. Questions from the media?
Hi, Brett LaFaso with KL4 TV. What do you guys want to see happen from here? You know, what happens next?
Quite honestly, we would like for the U.S. State Attorney, the state attorney to actually step in and press criminal charges in regards to the officers that involved and everyone that was involved with falsifying the police reports. I mean, this is a conspiracy to cover up murder. But that's to start with the U.S. Attorney. I mean, I keep saying U.S. The U.S. Attorney should step in as well, but someone needs to officially charge these police officers with murder and the conspiracy to cover up murder and any perjury that is taking place or any criminal elements that were involved in it, number one. We also, at this point, we believe that Governor Edwards should resign. We would like to see him resign. He is playing political games, and it starts at the top. If I was involved in the murder and I covered it up or knew about the evidence, or if I had a business, because the state of Louisiana is a corporation, if I had a business and I knew that my employees, while officially working for me, murdered someone, and then I allowed for the murder to say that, oh, they just died, they slipped and fell and died at my establishment, when I knew that they were murdered by actual employees. The state police, the state troopers, the police are employees. So if you were aware of it, and we know the governor was aware of it, because we've had several demonstrations outside the governor's mansion. In one of them, he snuck out the back. Another one, we had rifles pointed at demonstrators. This was about a week after the Kenosha hearing. It got highly tense out there. We presented our demands to the governor in 2020. We presented our demands on behalf of the Ronald Green family and Trayford Pellerin's family and other families in 2020, and to the state attorney and to the Louisiana legislature. Before the video became public, when we had the pictures, we've been at the state police department. This has been a 2-year consistent, even when the COVID came out. So we believe that he should resign. He doesn't have the integrity to govern. And we believe also that the legislature needs to enact an immediate session to come up with legislature that has some teeth in it, that holds these police officers, these police departments accountable, that holds them to a higher standard because of their duty to protect the public. If I know that I could go and kill someone and get away with it, there's no training that could take place that could stop me from being a vicious, racist murderer. You can't train that away. They are given license to kill, and they do. And I also believe that the people of Louisiana should speak out more at the ballot. Because even if he doesn't resign, that's what we would like to see. We would like to see representatives who actually represent decent, basic humanity. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, yeah, it definitely does. I have a follow-up question to that. Governor Edwards said in the press conference 2 days ago, he basically didn't speak out because the Department of Justice asked him to, in their investigation. What's y'all's response to that? Does it justify him staying silent on this matter?
No, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You can speak out on anything. If you can speak out on thousands of people dying from a so-called virus, which is currently being investigated and tried to be taken care of, I mean, that is ridiculous. That is basically a lame excuse just to get down to it. He could open up his mouth. You have the First Amendment right to speak. He did not speak. We didn't ask him to interrupt any investigation.
And
all he had to do was make a statement that this was a criminal act. But for him to say, I got to say this, for him to say that there was no cover up, that is the lie that needs to be addressed. And he's repeatedly said that there is no cover up, when it is an absolute fact that a false police report was released. So we call BS on that. Go ahead, Devon.
I concur with everything, including the point in which she said that he needs to resign. But also, too, then the question should have been posed, or it should be posed to the governor, what changed from then to now? Besides, again, like I said, political expedience. If he was not able to speak because of an investigation then what is the difference between then and now? So the governor, again, is playing political games, as Sister Crystal stated, and he's hoping that the people won't catch on to it, because the governor has in his mind that people are sheeple. People will follow him blindly, and without question. But we are the force that is coming to disrupt the status quo, and we will call him out on that. And again, we strongly stamp and second that the governor needs to resign. There cannot be anything he openly discussed in his press conference that this gets in the way of progress. And I'm in agreement that anytime an official is in this type of controversy, and they then become the center focus of what needs to take place when it comes to governing the country or governing the state. And so we know that it's not false allegations that's putting him in the center focus. It's not lies and hearsay. It's his own lack of action that's putting him there. So he needs to resign, so that way we can continue to do the work of this state, and so that way there can be a thorough investigation. I believe that there should be a federal investigation into the governor, and then there should be federal charges filed against him if it is found that the governor knew what happened to Ronald Green, which we know now to be the case that he did, and if it is found that he partook in that cover up and through that investigation, which through the people's investigation we know what the case is.
Any more questions? Any more questions of the media? Okay, we don't have any more questions. We will go ahead and officially close out this press conference. It is quite unfortunate that we're not actually sure what happened. I don't know. We do know. We can't speak on behalf of the family, but they were most definitely scheduled to be on here. So if there are more questions, then we'll go ahead and close out. We want to thank everybody that participated and that was on here today. And we will definitely email out this recording. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, everyone. Ange, can you go ahead and end the recording?